We went to Bailey Farms in Hydro, Oklahoma.
They were harvesting corn, and we got to ride along and learn how it's done.
Let's talk about types of corn. This is sweet corn. Look, no dents in these kernels.
And probably what you think about when someone says corn, the average American eats 9 pounds of it a year. This is what my abuela would use to make creamed corn. Dad says it was a family favorite at all the gatherings.
This is dent corn. Sometimes people call it field corn.
The kernels have dents in them. 99% of the corn grown in the U.S. is dent corn. It's used for animal feed, starch, oil, syrup, cereal, ethanol, and more. The corn we are harvesting is dent corn. It has been sold to a feed yard that will mill it into a cattle feed. Corn is measured in bushels. A bushel is about the same volume as 9 gallons. It's easier to picture it as almost 2 full 5-gallon buckets.
A bushel of corn weighs 56 pounds, almost as much as me.
To harvest corn, you need a combine, and Bailey Farms has a cool one. This is a John Deere 9770 STS with a corn header attachment. It has 385 horsepower. It can harvest 15 acres an hour, and its fuel tank holds 250 gallons of diesel.
You can remove this attachment and put others on.
I'm going to show you how it works, but first let's talk about why they call it a combine. A combine harvester is a machine that combines 3 harvesting jobs into one machine. It reaps, threshes, and winnows. Let's look at what that all means.
Reaping.
Reaping simply means cutting down the crop and gathering it in. All of that action takes place in the header.
These pointy things are called snouts.
The header snouts direct the corn stalk into the snapping rolls. The snapping rolls were my dad's favorite part.
The auger tips draw the stalk in, and these knives chop up the stalk as it pulls it down. The stalk is getting pulled between the 2 deck plates. The gap is big enough for the stalk to feed through, but the ears of corn can't fit, so they get snapped off.
Imagine this is a corn cob. The corn slides in and gets pulled down, and then all the corn cobs come off.
This gathering chain pulls them into the header, where they get picked up by this auger. The auger flights are different on each side. All of the material gets moved from each side of the header to the middle.
This part of the auger moves it this way, and the other part of the auger goes this way.
In the middle, a set of drag chains pulls the material into the feed house. At this point, reaping is over, and we move into threshing.
Threshing. Threshing means taking the corn off the cob. There's about 90,000 kernels in every bushel of corn. But the combine does it really fast.
What is entering the feed house is corn still attached to the cob, some stalks covering the ear, and some extra stalk material that didn't make it through the deck plates. We will talk about why that extra stalk material is important later. All of this material enters a rotor section. It's located behind these doors.
The rotor is positioned above grid bar sections. As the rotor spins, the ears of corn are scrubbed against the other vegetable matter, and the stalk coverings get peeled off, and then the grain gets rubbed off. The grain is small enough to fall through the grid bars, but the stalks are not. Now that the corn kernels have been separated, it's time for winnowing.
Winnowing.
Winnowing means cleaning all the unwanted plant material away from the grain. Some winnowing took place in the rotor. The rest of the winnowing takes place in the cleaning shoe.
In the cleaning shoe, these large pans are oscillated and vibrate, cleaning the grain further. The unwanted plant material is getting moved to the back and discharged out of the back of the combine. Fans also blow air throughout the cleaning shoe. This air opens the material up and carries the light trash away. Spreaders distribute it evenly back onto the field. The clean grain is falling down into a collection area where it is conveyed and elevated to the grain tank on top of the combine.
And the rest. This is the grain tank.
The grain tank on this model of combine holds 300 bushels. We were filling it up about every 6 or 7 minutes. Nobody would want to stop harvesting and go unload every 6 or 7 minutes.
That's where the grain carts come in. As the combine's grain tank fills up, a tractor pulling the grain cart pulls alongside it. A conveyor transfers corn to the cart at 3.3 bushels per second, while the combine is still harvesting. If the conveyor discharge isn't lined up with the grain cart, you could be unloading 185 pounds of corn onto the ground every second. That would not be good.
To keep that from happening, there is some pretty amazing technology. The combine actually takes control of the tractor pulling the grain cart and drives it.
You can go and push it. Push that one right there.
Reach up there and push
It'll
the...
make that tractor go forward. Yep. Now see, it took off.
Go forward.
We're going to shut off.
It keeps them in sync and even lets the combine operator control what portion of the grain cart is being filled. Knowing the combine can drive a whole separate tractor, it's not hard to believe that it has lots of automation to drive itself, too. It's equipped with GPS, row sensing, and header height sensing to assist the operator. It also has yield monitoring that merges with the GPS data to create yield maps, which helps the bales be more efficient.
But don't let all of this technology fool you. Riding with the Baileys, we learned that they make it look easy, and they have some neat tools to help them. But there's a lot of skill, experience, and dedication behind what they do. For instance, remember those deck plates we talked about, and we said that some of that plant material didn't fall through? Those deck plates are adjustable and can be opened wider, letting almost all of the stalk material fall through. But leaving some of the stalk material with the ears of corn provides cushioning and keeps kernels from getting rubbed off too early. That keeps them from losing grain onto the ground.
And the combine may be able to drive itself, but the operator knows where all the dips are that require some manual adjustments. That includes pausing unloading to the grain cart because the dip would tilt the unloading auger and crash it into the grain cart. And when a part needs to be fixed or replaced, the combine isn't going to fix itself. So the folks here are good mechanics. They work on it all, including electronics, hydraulics, and sometimes even fabricating their own parts. Downtime is costly and they keep things moving around here.
This is the tractor I got to drive.
You gonna race? Oh, he's beating us. Oh my goodness.
Geez, at least we passed the harvester.
The combine. And sometimes doing that doesn't just require knowing things. It takes some innovative thinking. To see an example of that, let's go back to the grain cart. Normally from here, the grain would get loaded onto a semi and hauled down to the buyer. But this year, there weren't enough trucks available. Waiting on trucks would mean risking losing corn to bad weather, like getting blown down. So this year, the Baileys improvised with these special ag bags. The grain carts move the corn to this setup where this machine stuffs the corn into the bag. The bags protect the corn from rain or snow, and when the trucks are available, they can be loaded according to their schedule, and they don't have to keep up with the pace of the combine.
Probably the biggest thing we learned was that there was a lot more to learn.
But we had a lot of fun and appreciated getting a glimpse at all the hard work, management, and investment that goes into a farming operation.
Bailey Farms is a great operation, and I'm glad we got to see it. Thank you, Mr. Bailey, Josh, Luke, and Harley for sharing your time, letting us ask so many questions, and letting me drive your tractor.